I was born in Toledo, Ohio in 1986. The 80s were good, especially because Michael Jackson was hot in the 80s, so I'm a huge Michael Jackson. My parents moved to Northern Virginia when I was about 18 months old, so I don't really remember much about Ohio. I remember Virginia. I remember Northern Virginia. My earliest memory was living with my aunt. So when my dad moved here from Oklahoma, he lived with his sister, who said, come on. He definitely wanted to expand what he was doing. He had just graduated as a project manager and wanted to expand. So DC was the area to come from. He came from Oklahoma to DC. A little bit after that, after he got settled, he asked my mom and I to come from Ohio. We lived in the Arlington area. I remember the closeness of family. Even as a young girl, about 4 years old, I have some memories of living with my aunt and my parents and my little sister, who I was like, I'm the only kid. Who's this human being? So when she came, we're about 2 years apart, me and my sister. My next memories were in Springfield. So we moved to Springfield when I was young. I remember kindergarten. At that time, they had morning or early day kindergarten and then afternoon kindergarten. I was in the afternoon kindergarten, so I'll never forget, I used to watch The Price is Right before I went on my bus, and I was able to go to the bus stop, which was in our backyard. So Price is Right was my thing. Still is. I like that show. But even at a young age, I knew how important family was. My dad came from a family that had 10 kids, and his parents always emphasized family. So did my dad. When my brother was born, I was about 5 years old. So I remember being with my godmother and my sister and waiting in the waiting room for him to be born. And we thought it was really cool that we had this little brother, but I didn't understand he was gonna get all the attention. And I didn't quite like that. He was the baby, he was a junior, and he was getting tons of attention. He had this really curly hair and long hair. Me and my sister said, can't we just take him back? Like, do we have to keep him? We didn't quite understand what it was at a young age. So it was, I'm the oldest, my sister who's 2 years younger than me, and then my brother that's about 2.5 years younger than her. And so from the age of 5, I knew I was the leader of this crew. Ashley, April, and Anthony. I was the leader of the family and of the kids. I didn't quite understand that and the gravity of that until I got into my teen years, because I was the one that was more gregarious and outgoing, and then wherever we went, they would follow behind me. And so I would have to introduce myself first, and then April would, and then my brother Anthony would. But I was always the leader. Whether it was a church event or anything that we did, they were just right behind me. Plus I was super tall, so that helped as well. I grew up, the majority of where I grew up was in Burke, Virginia. So in 5th grade, we moved from Springfield to Burke. We had a big house on the corner with a huge yard. I did not know at the time when we moved that we would be the yard keepers. So the lawn keepers. So my dad was very into his lawn, making sure it was green. He would plant flowers and rocks, and that's where I get my green thumb from. I still enjoy doing that. And he said recently that it was actually his mother who influenced him to really enjoy lawn care. So I get that from my grandma Ivy, who I look like. So, so that's fun. I grew up in an area where, if you would remember Edward Scissorhands, the movie, everyone kind of had the same looking home. Everyone would mow the lawn the same way. The garage doors would open and shut. That is how I grew up. It was totally suburbia. We knew our neighbors, we trusted our neighbors. We had to get together, the neighbors were all invited. I really enjoyed that. Also at a young age, my parents had eye care, home health care. So eye care has been in business since 1993, but I really, really remember it when we were in Burke, Virginia, because my mom brought the office from Springfield, Virginia to our home. My dad, who has a construction background, made the entire basement into an office. So we had workstations right in our house. We had people who came at 8 a.m., came into our home, do whatever, get coffee, went downstairs, and they worked. It was beautiful. We had the den, which he made into an office. Then we had a back room that was unfinished. And my dad finished it with the drywall and everything. And that's where his office was. And that's where another person would work. So we couldn't really escape work because it was all around us. That's what we knew. We knew eye care and our home life. It only made a difference sometimes on the weekends when we wanted to fry food. So fried chicken or fried fish on a Sunday night, and my mom would say, oh, no. We can't do that. Primarily, well, number one, she wasn't really partaking in the fried chicken and fried fish, number one. But number two, she didn't want the smell in the house for the next day. She said, no, this is also a place of business.